the time that we worked on this project, I had been the subject matter expert in medical affairs for the ME panel for about 2 years. And during that time, there was really an explosion of the volume of literature, with people reporting their experiences of bringing the ME panel into their routine clinical use. And so seeing all of that literature presented the opportunity for us to then consider doing a meta-analysis.
As far as the study, again, some of the sort of summaries of what we did and what we found. This was a systematic review and meta-analysis to evaluate the impact of meningitis encephalitis panel on primarily hospital length of stay as our primary outcome. And so we looked within the literature to evaluate studies that had that, and then also looking at among those studies, some secondary outcomes.
We at BioFire and bioMeriU have had the opportunity to work with Dr. Hasbin for a number of years to help inform our products and work with us on different studies. And so when the opportunity came for us to look at all the body of evidence that is out there for the ME panel and put together this meta-analysis and systematic review, he was the first name that came to mind. And we're, again, very fortunate that he's always been so willing to collaborate with us.
It's cliche, but I love sort of the phrase, teamwork makes the dream work. And I think it's really true. And so whenever my favorite projects, and I think, again, sort of enriching the robustness of projects is having that multidisciplinary team work together because, we all have different perspectives. And this includes, sort of industry, non-industry, but then also between different types of specialties as far as microbiologists versus physicians versus pharmacists.
Us being able to collaborate with Dr. Hasbin for his insights on the importance of the findings of the meta-analysis, and for us to collaborate with the clinical research organization that we worked with to support us with the analysis was really integral in us being able to be successful with the project.
When we did our literature search, we ended up finding 13 studies that met our inclusion-exclusion criteria. The use of the panel was associated with about a 1.2-day decrease in length of stay, which was statistically significant. Also, we saw a reduction in acyclovir use by about 1.1 days, which was statistically significant. And then finally, we saw a non-significant reduction in antibiotic use, which was about a 1-day decrease.
A key takeaway of the impact of this study demonstrating the impact on clinical care is that a reduction in acyclovir exposure is really important when we think about reducing the risk of acute kidney injury. It's been demonstrated in the literature that AKI can occur with just a few doses of acyclovir. So being able to have a rapid diagnostic that gives results in about an hour can be very important for patients to be de-escalated off of acyclovir when appropriate. Obviously, meningitis and encephalitis are really emerging clinical conditions, and as such, empiric therapy initiation is important. But being exposed to all those different antimicrobials obviously comes with risk. And so being able to de-escalate where possible is really important for patient outcomes.
Walking away from this study, one of the first things that I noticed was the decrease in length of stay, which again, sort of getting into that causal framework of plausibility. You sort of compare turnaround time to clinical actionability versus standard of care, and it makes sense, right? As far as having that earlier identification, earlier streamline of management, which leads to decrease in length of stay that sort of correlates into the time period that would be the difference. I do think that the ME panel, again, like a lot of these rapid diagnostics, is a tool that it's not the end-all be-all solution to AMR, but it is one of the tools in our armamentarium to decrease inappropriate antibiotic use, which we know selects for antibiotic resistance.
Antimicrobial stewardship is incredibly important for patient care and especially towards AMR. And I think what often goes under-recognized is the importance of diagnostic stewardship within antimicrobial stewardship. And so the way that rapid diagnostics can impact stewardship is having a streamlined approach to diagnostics with a actionable answer that's returned and can be acted on by the stewardship teams to then improve patient outcomes.
When we're able to use diagnostics to improve patient care and be able to measure that, as a stewardship pharmacist, we definitely see, for metrics of it improving patient care and, improving patient outcomes and improving the economics. And so I think that's sort of a win for everybody.
Ultimately, the rapidity of the results and the fast opportunity to act on it can result in a reduced length of stay, which is also an important metric. Avoiding extended time in the hospital can help you avoid other risk factors. And also from a cost perspective and resource utilization, reduced length of stay is an important metric for health institutions. When you think about a diagnostic like ME panel that has the most common causes of meningitis and encephalitis in one test, you can see how that would be a more efficient approach to the diagnostic process than trying to determine all the different tests that could be ordered. And when we think about standard of care for some of the bacterial targets, waiting for culture results, that's about 24 and 48 hours for culture and AST. So being able to get results in about an hour is a significant improvement there and allows for the antimicrobial approach to be tailored to the patient and what the identified infectious etiology is.
Sort of thinking about the plausibility behind these findings, we all know and has been shown in the literature that these technologies are associated with, about a 2-day decrease, versus culture on turnaround time, getting a result in about an hour versus, at least 24 to 48 hours, a lot of times for identification and additional time for susceptibilities. And so this can really streamline early appropriate management decisions as far as therapies, procedures, additional imaging or tests, which streamlines the patient encounter, which leads to things like decreasing length of stay, which is what we saw.
Syndromic testing for CNS infections using the BioFire ME panel can help reduce diagnostic uncertainty and improve diagnosis for these patients in your institution. The test is designed in a way that facilitates rapid results. It's a consolidated platform that facilitates rapid throughput in the laboratory. And so, considering the results of our study where we demonstrated that the rapid results do lead to reduced lengths of stay and reduced exposure to antimicrobials, I would like clinicians and laboratories to think about what their current standard of care is and what rapid diagnostics with results in about an hour could do for their patients in managing their patients that are presenting with signs and symptoms of meningitis and encephalitis.
Again, the sort of pooled effects or the average outcome that you're able to elicit from the studies included in our systematic review, the multiple positive benefits that were statistically significant overall suggest this panel versus standard of care really streamlines patient management in patients that have potential meningitis or encephalitis. And so this streamlining of care, I think, is sort of my critical factor that I think is important, because at the end of the day, the question becomes, is it better? And my answer is yes.